go.
Log in on Twitch.
On this, twitch.com. Twitch.tv.
Twitch.com. On the internet.
Hey, Arden! What, old friend? Arden's come on in. Oh, yeah, and we did put caffeine on the ship. So, Matt, I've slowly been updating our key art. So I started off with just me and a couple of friends hanging out the butt of the ship, and I'm slowly adding all of our crew in. And it is, of course, taking far longer than I intended, as all good key art projects do.
Here, here.
But when you don't have a brand manager, you get to choose your own branding, so...
That's the benefit of being wild and free on the internet.
Yes. My business cards literally rip off Shaun of the Dead, so I'm very happy. Hey, Tull's like faces! What a and welcome!
Logged into the website here.
We were chatting about House Flipper before the break, which was good fun.
It is good fun. I was just watching while we were getting ready, somebody laying sod, which was absolutely ripping.
Yeah, and the game sold gangbusters.
It's kind of amazing. Yeah, like I was saying, like I just have no idea what we're gonna like when it comes to video games. It's just an absolute magical mystery, but good for them.
Yeah. So Alfred of the Deluge, what, old friend? Dorcas, come on in, come on in. Find yourself a cup of coffee or a beverage of time zone appropriate nature. I have a wonderful guest who I'll be introducing you all to in a couple minutes. And yeah, Tull saying, can you put the guest's name underneath? Yes, I might be able to. I know, I'll do that while we're chatting. So let's do a text thing. Though if this does title T and breaks this thing again, I will be livid. Sorry, old joke. I tried to add in a guest name in one of the previous streams, and it put this massive, it was meant to be title text, took up the entire screen, crashed the feckin' browser, and it became kind of a haunting ghost.
That's part of the internet experience. This is why we do this live and not otherwise, right?
That's all the fun.
That's why everybody comes to car races, to see the crashes.
I think that's why people tune into my life. So we are joined by Rhymes with Moose, Cadbury Gaming, yes, and Cadbury, thank you for organising this.
Hi, Cadbury.
Wraith Lecoret, what, old friends? Come on in. Hey! Sadlin, Watto. Sorry, I
just want to say hi.
Alright, it's good to see you.
Yeah.
Right. Okay, so we've got Aspects, Sadlin, Erebon, Aaron Feathers, Watto, friends. Come on in. Right. Trying to find a bunch of buttons simultaneously. There we go, that's what I was after.
What's on for today?
I have a guest from Unity in the moment.
Nice. I'll leave you alone then.
Hello.
No worries. Take it easy, dude.
Lunch break, just wanted to say hi again.
Always good to see you, Kenley. Always good to see you.
Yeah.
Right. So would you prefer your Twitter handle, good sir, if I'm introducing you?
Yeah, sure. Yes.
Let's go with
that would be good.
At Matt Mirrorfish.
That's me. On Twitter.com.
On this site, Twitter.com. Oren! What, oh friend?
All site.
I don't know why I come back, but I do.
The burning wasteland.
Don't.
Retweet. Yeah, I love your personal edition splash screen that you got in there. Very.
Thank you.
Very au courant, very of the moment.
I do try.
Excellent. Hello, chat. How y'all doing? Yes, I'm the new guy on Discord. Tarlicus. That's right. That's me, the new mysterious man in your Discord.
The new sheriff. Hey!
Visiting.
Spooky Rose, what? Oh, and welcome. Bear with me all just a second while I'm fecking around. You know what? I can make the text look better later. So here's your name. So people now know who you are. Check it out. It's not my best work, I'll grant, but
Look, Mom, I'm online.
you're on the internet.
I've made it. I have made it. This is it.
Hey, Stooge, come on in. I got a good guest. We've got good things to talk about. Watto and welcome on.
Hey, Squarebag. My position is I am an online evangelist at Unity.
Alrighty. Well, I'll tell you
I
what.
have a weird job title, but that's me.
Now, Stooge and crew are in. As we've only got you for a limited amount of time, let's get those introductions out of the way. Let's get this going. So, ladies, gentlemen, and individuals of all persuasions. Yo! Aspects, you feckin' legend. Thank you kindly. Aspects just gifted you a sub, yo. No big deal.
Oh, thank you. Cheers.
House Carl don't feck around. Oh, very quickly. Did I punt out the tweet like I said I was going to? I did! Yes! Check me out. One of these days, I will remember to do this on the daily. So, how are the levels coming through, dear friends? Because I just moved into a new gaff. So I'm still playing Mixmaster Mike, getting everything coming together. Square's saying levels good. Cadbury's like, you did it! I retweeted. Sometimes I can get it right.
Yeah.
Guest is a bit quiet. We can change that. That's real easy.
I can also talk a little bit. I can talk more loudly or more closely to my microphone.
I have the power. I have the power to bring you up. Right. So, ladies and gentlemen, we are joined by Matt from Unity to answer questions, chat banter, and genuinely be a cool kid. Thank you again to Cadbury, who introduced us via email. Though it turns out we did actually meet at GDC, so I'm not being a complete and utter numpty. And,
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh,
Thanks for having me.
there we go.
Pleasure to be here with you all.
Thank you, dude. And you were saying your title over at Unity, you are an evangelist.
Yeah, so I'm part of the evangelist team, and then within the evangelist team, I focus on online stuff. So basically what that mainly means is making YouTube videos about Unity, which I've been doing now for almost 5 years, which is a little shocking to think about. It's kind of, I'm like an ancient dinosaur at Unity, actually.
Yeah, like in YouTube Unity terms, you were there at the beginning when the dinosaurs still roamed.
Exactly. Yeah, I was there in my leopard skin trying to make YouTube videos. So.
And so
Yeah, but it's been good.
For those who haven't encountered your content, for those who are not familiar with like the term evangelist when it comes to video games, like what does that mean? How do you interact with developers? What do you do on the daily?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's funny, like the term online evangelist is a little bit of a weird one. Traditional evangelism in the video game world, and I guess in the broader technology world, is basically folks who are, or they call us like technical evangelists as well. It's basically people who know about the product, know how to use the product, in this case, like know how to make games in Unity. And we go out, we give talks, we speak to user groups, write blog posts, stuff like that. And then in my case, I work within that team, but then primarily focused on online stuff. So making YouTube videos, we've done some streaming in the past, and I'm actually hoping to get that started again this year. Yeah, just kind of spreading the word about Unity, helping people learn how to make games and other awesome stuff, and live their dreams.
That's way cool. So I guess to add, it's one part kind of support, one part elevation, one part education.
Yeah, exactly. And the thing that, like, you know, makes us unique in terms of what, you know, among like some of the other marketing stuff that Unity does is that we're technical users of the engine, right? Like we actually use Unity, make stuff, can talk, you know, in depth about technical stuff, and that's kind of like the unique part of our role.
Way cool. So once again, Matt, thank you for your time. So.
Yeah.
Theodora's asking me to make you louder. That I can do. So I've stopped fucking around with that. Bring up the volume! Pump up the bass! And then bring this down. Like I said, my background right now is still a packed out arcade. Well, okay, it's Thursday in an arcade at about 1 p.m., so it's actually very chill. You know what I mean.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
I'm learning how to do them mixes.
Yeah, no problem. I can also speak up a little bit. Project my voice.
From that diaphragm I've heard so much about. Right. So, I guess there are a bunch of stuff that I wanted to talk to you about. A few of our wonderful crew pre-cooked a couple of questions, so we are spoilt for good stuff to chat on today.
Great.
I guess what I wanted to start with was, I mean, you've been at Unity for 5 years. What's it been like watching this change from like game engines being these dark machines hidden in back rooms, crafted in C++ by individuals, and becoming these tools that facilitate art and creativity? What's it been like observing that?
Yeah, it's been amazing. I mean, the one of the things that I love about working at Unity is that all of the work that I do, all of the content that I make, all of the educational stuff that I make is all given away for free to everybody in the world, and I've worked at other jobs and stuff where it's been like, oh, we're going to give you a couple of things for free, but then we're going to charge you, or we're going to do this and that, but then we got to make some money, right? Which obviously business is business and people need to make money. But one of the things that's been kind of amazing about being at Unity is just that, you can download Unity for free, you can use it for free, you can sell commercial games for free. And then it's basically the way that for those who don't know, the way that we sort of fund the business and make money is that once you get to a certain amount of revenue as a company, which is usually like $200,000 US, then, we ask you to buy licenses and help us to keep developing the software that way. So it's like a very, you could be making games, especially if you're a small team for quite a while using everything for free. And, so that being in that position of kind of helping to bring that forth into the world is something that I just, I believe in a lot. And it's amazing to see all of the, super creative, interesting, unconventional stuff that people can make with this, with the technology. So for me, that's just like personally really, really rewarding.
That's way cool. I mean, I feel like, I don't want to go too much into the Grandad archives, but I still remember the release of the old Quake 3 engine, when they were like, hey, you can just use it, and you can make what you want unless you release a commercial. And everyone was like, le gasp! This'll never catch on!
I know, yeah, totally. I mean, it's kind of amazing that, and I still am amazed that I'm like, wow, this is how does this even work? You know what I mean? That it's kind of possible to, but I joined Unity, 5 years ago, it was like 500 people, or even less, and now it's like more than 2,000 people. So something about that model of giving things away for free works, which is super cool to see and to be a part of.
Hey, I mean, you know my feels, and those of you in chat that know me. Hey!
What ho, friendos. Blue long ship badge get.
The guitar, thank you kindly. That's a 6-month combo at 2. You fucking legend.
Nice.
That blue badge suits you well. But yeah, Matt, what I was just going to add is I've worked at a myriad of different studios. One of the ones I previously worked at used both Unity and Unreal for different projects. And so it's just lovely moving into this space now where the only real barrier to entry is knowledge. Because, friends, you can't understand, back in the day, getting hold of something like the CryEngine, getting hold of original Unreal, especially early 360 era, there was mad bank, to get the engine.
Just to get the software itself, just to get the source code or to get a license to be able to use it. I mean, it's really is it's true, because this has kind of become normalized, right, over the past couple of years that, this is like a thing. But I mean, for myself, before I got into game development, I was actually a musician. And, I tried for years to learn how to make games. I tried to learn programming. I tried to learn how to write C. I tried to learn how to write C++. There was like a pre-Unity product called Torque, which was like another game engine.
Yeah, that was browser-based.
Yeah, like we're way back in the mists of time, and I remember trying and failing and giving up and feeling miserable and frustrated. It was something that I wanted to do so bad, but it just was really hard, and there just wasn't, the tools just kind of weren't there for somebody who was at the level that I was at. So once Unity, once I got into Unity and started to learn it, I was able to kind of just get far enough that I was like, oh, I'm actually like making a little bit of progress here, and I can actually do things. And getting over that first hump was like, gave me the motivation to keep going and to keep learning. And one of the things that made that possible was just the fact that there was a bunch of free tutorial content that was online, right? I also like bought books and stuff, but there was like a community of people making and giving away video tutorials, written tutorials, and to be able to, and it's just random pieces of code. I remember like copy pasting all kinds of different, sketchy stuff together that didn't really work, but it kind of worked. And, and just being able to get that far, I just felt like, whoa, actually, maybe I can actually do this, and that kind of gave me the motivation to keep going, which definitely just absolutely was 100%. Not if I had to like learn OpenGL and draw triangles to the screen via code, like forget about it. I just was never, fundamental. Like, nowadays I do know how to program, and I've gotten pretty technical, but fundamentally I'm like a creative person. That's where I like music and art and that kind of stuff is where I came from. And so if you would tell me like, first you're going to write your rendering engine, then you're going to write your playback engine. Now you're going to write like your debugging console. Yeah. I mean, I just wouldn't have done it, So Unity, I mean, I can say with 100% confidence, like, cause I tried before Unity was a thing, like I wouldn't be able to be in games if it wasn't for you.
Which is fucking cool. I have a similar path. I tried a bunch of like C++ programming stuff, ricocheted off a whole bunch of it, and it wasn't until I started using a few of the store-bought engines. A few of the like free, use them as you will engines that I even made any progress. And totally. We don't need to bang this drum too hard because I want to get into the here and the now. For everybody, I feel like this is something that often gets overlooked. That 5 years ago, 10 years ago was a very, very different landscape, and the barriers to entry to be an individual creating a game was feckin' hard. I just wanted to take a moment to celebrate that. So
totally.
Let's flash cut to the future. Because believe me, I would love to talk history of game engines with you till the break of dawn. So welcome to 2019. The two main engines in use in the industry right now are free. With arguably, I don't know many projects that are at market now, but like CryEngine's free fork on Amazon's Lumberyard. There are 3 mass scale engines that you can choose from that are all free out the box. And what you were saying about, like scaling licensing fees and things like that. Bloody hell. How has that been for changing your day to day?
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. I think that there's been a lot of, I think it's an interesting process to see, and I think it's honestly something that everybody is still figuring out, especially as this part of the business gets bigger. I know that, it's going to be interesting to see how it develops, but I think the idea of having some kind of, free, very usable, very functional version of your engine, I think that's going to be the way it is from now on, which I think is a great thing for the creative art of games and the business of games and just the kind of the games community.
I'm 100% with you. So I tell you what, I don't know if I've done a good enough job in kind of pointing out how big a deal it is to have you here. That so I guess friendos, if you've not encountered a lot of the engine evangelists, will go from event to event, will do online content, are essentially kind of like a support resource that people will often fight tooth and nail to get some time of.
Sure.
What I want to do is I want to start jumping into some of the questions, if that's okay with you, dude.
Yeah, absolutely. Happy to.
I've got a few pre-cooked ones here,
Great.
and I feel like, considering your time is valuable, I don't want to waste too much of it. So, all right, simple one off the bat.
Yeah.
One of our crew was asking that they are really enjoying making, they really want to make some more retro-style arcade games.
Sure.
But the crux they were asking was, is there going to be support for the Raspberry Pi coming anytime soon?
Whoa, that's a good question. I mean, I love that whole kind of scene. I doubt it personally, just because. I mean, I can't. Short answer is I don't know. Right? So this is not like an official Unity answer or whatever. But just the way that the amount of people and work that it takes to support another platform for Unity, because that's, for those who don't know, like one of the things that has made Unity a thing or useful is that you can write your game. Most people develop on a desktop computer, but then you can deploy to mobile, you can deploy to a console, you can deploy even to web. And so the work of making that possible is, as you might imagine, pretty significant, right? Because you have to cross the file into whatever code that device runs on. And so,
Friendos,
given this, yeah, go ahead.
But I was just going to say, like, back in the day, porting from just like PC to Mac, one platform to another, was a brutal undertaking of monumental
from one desktop platform to another was like, we'll take that 19, and not a trivial thing. So
and
so basically, I think Raspberry Pi is unlikely. Just that I don't know actually how many Raspberry Pi users are out there, and I know there are a lot, but I don't think it's a huge commercial market that would be supported by the amount of people that we would need to make it happen. So I doubt it is the unofficial answer.
It's always I love it when development teams or like people put forward Linux builds, but at least from what we've seen on the games, well, I would say games retail because that implies bricks and mortar, from actually selling video games, lamentably there is not a big market of people who buy exclusively on Linux. So
right. Yeah, and I mean Unity supports Linux as a build target, and there actually is a kind of a, I forget whether I don't know if they say it's like not officially supported or what the actual term is, but basically there is a Linux editor that you can use for authoring, but it's supported by a small group of people, and it's kind of almost like a passion project for a lot of the folks at Unity who love Linux and open source software, and they kind of have made it happen. But it's not as you say, there's not like a huge business case for it. Although I think it's possible that may change in the future, and it's definitely. I mean, it's not a platform that I personally use or am involved in, but I think it's really cool that it is supported and that there are options and alternatives. I think that's actually important, broadly for the kind of health of the ecosystem.
Way cool. And friendos, so these are some of the questions that I pulled out from sorry. Let me take a breath. Tarlicus was very kind enough to curate and contabulate the questions that our little community pre-cooked for you. But friendos, if you have any questions you want to throw into the mix, go for it. We've got time. And those of you,
absolutely.
Like Doom Ninja, 10 Win, Iron, peeps who've come in that haven't had a full-on Wato and welcome from me, do no worry. We got a long ass show today. We're gonna be going. So back into the questions board.
Yeah, so Mr. Squarepeg is asking question, dark theme for everyone when? You know, it's a question that we get a lot right now. For those who don't know, basically there's like you have applications with like light and dark themes, and Unity, the dark theme is like a feature of the pro paid product, right?
You villain!
Yeah, which it,
How could you?
I know,
Delete
and we
light
definitely hear
modes.
that all the time. My eye! See, with this light gray, it's burning my eyes.
Light mode should be for pro users, because only someone who's professionally trained should know that they are harming themselves.
Yeah, exactly. I've definitely heard all of those arguments. I don't have a actual answer for that. I know it's put it this way, it's something that we have internally talked about a lot, but I don't think there's like an official answer
Okay.
that I can give anyway. Yeah, that's the current state of it. It's still pro only.
I can't believe.
Or plus only. You can get Unity Plus, which is like a lower price tier, and that'll give you the dark skin as well. So, but yeah.
Well, okay, so I'm going to bring this one up because I think this helps frame some of the misunderstanding around Unity's licensing model and how it works in being free. So one of the questions we got asked earlier, and I'm reading this verbatim, was,
Sure.
Is it true that Unity demands small game studios have a made-in-Unity splash screen, but not big studios? If true, what is the reasoning behind this difference? And you can see what I mean. There's a lot of misinformation going around on this one. So do you want to talk a little on how the free licensing works and why that is the case?
Yeah, so that is one of the limitations. So basically, and this is, I'm not saying anything. I always have to be careful when I'm talking on these things that I don't say like secret things that I'm not supposed to say.
Secret tunnels!
Secret alert. No, like basically it's definitely something that we've talked about a lot, and that's why I was kind of laughing about the Made with Unity Personal Editions GIF in the tweet. Like,
Thank you.
It is, no, it's right. It's right to the heart of the matter. So the way that it works is that if you're building on Personal Edition, when you finish your project and you deploy to a binary of your game, it will display this splash screen. I think now, if I remember correctly, it doesn't say Personal Edition, it just says Made with Unity, right? And if you pay for a pro license, you have a choice whether to display that or not, right? And that's, I believe, the current kind of licensing model. So it's one of the things that's kind of like a gentle nudge to be like, hey, maybe, if you want to have the option to not show this, then you should buy a license. You've gotten to the point where you finish your game and you're ready to release it, and maybe that's something you want to do or not, right? And you do have the option to release without it. Nobody's going to stop you from releasing your game, making money, all that stuff. But then, we do ask to kind of show that the game was made with Unity. But I know it's one of those things that there's been a lot of discussion about, and some people like it and some people don't. But that is that's the current approach.
I think that there's a misdemeanor that the idea that free users are being forced. I mean, you have created a game engine, and game engines are still very misunderstood at a user perspective. And this game engine is being given for free. I don't think it's unreasonable to have your "this is what it's made in" screen ahead of time.
Yeah, totally. I mean, I agree. It's funny. I mean, the way I think about it, right, is that people will always, I don't know what the right way to say this is, but people kind of get used to the idea that's free, and then if there's kind of any part of it that's not free, they're like, well, why isn't just everything free? I believe that I should have everything, right? Which I understand, but then at the same time, it's like, this is in fact a business and I would like to get paid, please. I need to pay my rent on my apartment, and so I would like to be paid, and so the business does need to make money, so that we can continue making software for people to use. And so but it's definitely a discussion that I've been aware of and been a part of.
Because not to go back to the old game engines of old, but the Talk business model was so bad. I think SquarePeg was saying Talk's still around, in the same
I
way...
saw that. Yeah, shout out to Torque. Definitely big up to them. I mean,
but-
I was...
Same way that Arthas is still around. Like, the dude's not alive, but he's still around.
No, but honestly, I have to give, super massive respect to them
Yes.
because I forget when I was using, this was like, I don't know, 2001. Like, we're talking way back in the eons of the mists
I
of
snark,
creation.
but I was a Torque user. I tried to be a Torque developer.
Yeah.
I didn't cut it, but I was part of that
No,
whole
same.
ecosystem, which is, I don't want my snark to seem mean-spirited. Because I used the Cube, the Saberbron engine, RPG Maker, the Mugen engine, or Mugen engine, that. I actually did 3 titles in the Mugen engine and made that thing do stuff it was never meant to do.
That's amazing.
So quickly, shout out to Baron Sheep, who slept through his alarm for 2 hours. I'm so sorry, dude.
Woohoo!
Now, Camille has a question which is near and dear to my heart. I don't want to read that one out. As I've never put this on the shoulders of Unity, but as someone who streams a lot, Camille's question is a big one, which is, so Camille K is asking, non-developer question, can developers control the volume of the sound on the splash screen?
That's a really good question. I actually don't know the answer to that.
If we can make that as a feature request, I'd love it, because the amount of times
Totally.
I've booted up an indie game and they've gone for the free licensing, and the splash screen has scared possibly the Wii out of me. It hasn't been confirmed. It hasn't been confirmed.
Yeah, exactly. Changing shorts, unconfirmed. I'm actually gonna Google it right now. But this is, I mean, honestly, this is really a good result of these kind of things because, like,
Yeah.
it doesn't say whether you can change the volume. But these are the type of questions that, like, this does not come up when I'm talking to big studios, right? But it's really good feedback because it would be a good thing to be able to do if it's not possible.
So while you're having a look at that, just going back to chat, Catberry is saying the RPG Maker is still going. Hells yeah, it's still going.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And-
Shout out to RPG Maker. I know some people make big years-long projects in RPG Maker and making great stuff.
Hells yeah. I'm just having minor flashbacks of downloading horrible MIDI covers of popular songs back in the day for RPG Maker 95. I think I've still got a cover of every song of Prodigy's Fat the Land album, but in MIDI.
Woo!
So bad.
Oh man, rest in peace to the guy from Prodigy, Keith. That was sad.
It was.
My teenage years.
So jumping back in,
Dating myself.
Square just wanted to add that Talk is still being community supported, whereas the company behind it open sourced it.
Oh, I see. I see.
So-
Well, good for them. Good for them releasing so that the people who wanted to keep it going could keep it going. I mean, that's awesome.
Yeah. And Dash has said soft spot for the 3D Realms build engine. First engine ever modded, also Quake 3. Hells yes.
Yeah, somebody, I cannot pronounce your name, says that Unity splash screen has no build. This was why I was a little mystified by this question, but I'm actually going to try to figure it out because I was just looking at the manual and I don't see a volume control, but I don't remember there being sound either. But I'm gonna figure it out. I'll find out and get back to y'all.
So, super quick question from one of the crew that was pre-cooked was what happened to the build report system? Someone was asking.
So, in what sense? It's still possible to generate build reports.
There we go. That was an easy question.
Yeah. It may have changed, but then I would need more info. Since here. But yeah, what about it? It's still there.
Lovely.
Let me see. I'm just looking to see if I can find a link. So, give you some more info. Yeah, still there.
And again, friends, if you've got any questions, just yell them out. We've got Matt's time, and I'm trying not to be a super nerd about this one because, like, the previous companies I've worked at had like the full licenses for both Unity and Unreal. So, like, Your time is super valuable, and you've just decided to come hang out on my weird little corner of the internet. And I'm trying to be
happy
cool.
To be here.
I'm trying to be cool. I'm really trying.
Oh, I see. Okay, Aspepex asks, there was a build report system announced during a roadmap event in 2018, and it's state on the roadmaps. Oh, and it's stale on the webpage. Oh, I see. Okay. Yeah, I do not know the answer to that. I know that there is this, which I'll link in the chat, which is the build report API. So you can get back info from editor scripts about, the process of the build. Take a look at that. That is probably that's something that's usable now, and maybe that'll help.
Oh, and you know what? Baron's got a really nice question, which I'm sure you get this one a lot, but I don't think it hurts covering. Because Baron was asking,
Sure.
if someone has zero game design experience, where would you recommend they start within Unity?
So actually, this is a very time launched or relaunched a new version of our learning site, which I'm trying to pull up the URL for, unity3d.com/learn.
Okay.
And really cool, there are they just came out, 2 new beginner projects. One that focuses on building I'll put the link in the chat. One that focuses on building a small 2D game, and one that focuses on building a small 3D game. And they've got some really cute artwork and are like full little projects with assets that you can download and follow along. So that is definitely one place I recommend that you start. Another thing that is the place, honestly, that I recommend you start. But where's the other one that I wanted to show you? This one, Unity Playground, is another. This is actually a little shorter. So if you want like something that's kind of more bite-sized, take a look at this. It's 2D only, but there's no. You don't have to start out by programming, right? So it's got a bunch of pre-made components that you can drag together, and like this one is move the character with the arrow keys, and this one's like destroy something that collided with something else, and so you can kind of just put together little games and scenes, using 2D artwork. That's made by a colleague of mine on the evangelism team named Chiro, and it's super fun to work with. I've even used it myself, like during game jams, just when I want to quick put something together. And it's like really user friendly and stuff. So that would be definitely something that I would look at as well. Yeah. Let's see. As a pretty edge case technical question asks Rhymes with Moose.
Go for it.
I've got a procedural generation algorithm I've been mulling over to be best implemented in something like Lisp. Is there a Lisp interpreter I could bolt on that's still being maintained that you know of? A quick Google search only surfaced results from a couple of years ago or more. I'm not aware of a Lisp interpreter. I wonder, procedural generation is a topic that's near and dear to my heart. Something I've actually spent a fair amount of time on, so I'm always happy to geek out about it. I love procedural games and the kind of roguelikes and roguelike and all those kind of things. I love that stuff.
Power of 3.
Yeah, exactly. But I wonder why Lisp and why the algorithm wouldn't really work in C#. I'm curious. That would be, to me, would make more sense, but I'm sure you have good reasons. Is Unity Chan in those free assets? Yes, but not in these free assets. She is free though, so you got to get her from the Unity Japan website. Unity Chan is like the mascot for the guys in Japan made.
I saw it was Catberry asking that one. I was like, the cheek, the cheek.
Yeah, she's free. You can get her and put her in your projects, and she's super cool.
As all the best things in life are. Fuzzy wanted to add, are there any asset store tools that you feel are really underappreciated?
That's a good question. I mean, it's funny. The asset store, I feel like in general, is appreciated. Once you have a little bit more experience with developing in Unity, you realize that a lot of how can I put this? It takes a lot of time to make good things. And there's so many good things that people have made on the asset store that they're selling for like $20 or $50. And like, depending on, even if you're paying yourself like very low minimum wage, the value of your time, it's going to take you days and weeks to build an equivalent thing, especially with like the level of polish and documentation and everything. So the fact that you can just buy it for $20 and just use it is kind of amazing. So broadly speaking, like the asset store is an amazing resource. In terms of underappreciated tools, I could plug my own asset store thing.
Dude, go for it.
but that would be unethical. Unethical.
Mate, if you help people make good games, I don't care if you crack open a penguin and drink it like a Capri Sun. Like, ethics be damned.
Wow.
Please don't drink a penguin.
Please don't. Please don't.
And Catberry is here to talk about Unity Chan, our Lord and Savior.
Well played. Well played. Fuzzkey says, I asked the asset store question because the company I work with a few tools on there and that we all use, but I really want to try out more tools. Yeah. Okay, I'll link to my asset store thing. This is not official Unity promotion, but speaking of procedural generation, this is I made a level generator, 2D level generator.
Oh, nice.
For roguelike sort of games that uses Unity's tile map stuff. But that's just my personal project, not part of something that Unity officially supports. But that's like kind of my like hobby project. But so a couple things that people really like. One thing that is Odin is a super nerdy, but it's basically an inspector serializer tool that allows you to extend the Unity inspector, which has a lot of really nice, pretty good stuff in it.
Mate, not to interrupt you, but you understand, you found a Viking-themed bunch of nerds on the internet. We are literally the target audience for that. We are literally your target audience.
Oh my word! See, it's all coming together subconsciously, not intentionally.
Right.
There's a lot. I would look at Odin. Odin is really cool. There's a whole bunch of different visual scripting tools that people like for different reasons. I really like, actually this is one I really like. I really like Behavior Designer.
It's not a cult.
It's totally not a cult.
It's not a cult.
Perfectly
See, my guest
normal,
agrees.
non-cult.
Thank you.
Yeah, totally. Would I be here if it was a cult? No.
Exactly. So what was the other tool that you just linked?
So yeah, Behavior Designer is a great tool. Building behavior tree AI. And actually Opsiv, the developer who makes that, has a whole bunch of tools that are not a cult, that are generally really good.
Thank you for this.
Actually, now I'm just looking at the asset store and remembering a lot of stuff. I really like the stuff that the Amplify Creations guys out of Portugal make. Their main tool, Amplify Shader Editor, is great. It's now like a little bit in competition with our own shader graph tool, but it's also still really good. Actually, this is amazing. This thing is so good, and it's free. They made a fake interiors tool. I don't know if you guys saw, what was the big Spider-Man game that came out however long ago that was? The big, huge Spider-Man game.
Yes, that has it does faux interiors.
Yeah, exactly. It's got the fake little house. You can look in the that does that in Unity for free by Amplify.
One of the teams that no, this is NDA. TLDR, I've seen behind the scenes on how that technology works, and it's incredible. Yeah.
It's cool. It's really fun. I just love fake stuff like that.
Right? And the way that you can potentially procedurally generate entire houses, layouts, and things going, and it looks, but it's not, but it is, and I'm just like.
It's super fun. Super, super fun.
And actually, there was a little thing you touched on a moment ago that I really do want to highlight, which is that people are creating things for Unity, which rival Unity's own in-house things.
Yeah.
That's amazing!
Totally. Yeah, and that is something I think that makes it it's really, really somebody mentioned Bolt. Mr. Squarepeg mentioned Bolt. Bolt is another great tool for visual scripting. Definitely shout out to them. I've done some stuff with I think it's one guy actually who makes it out of Montreal. Super powerful, user-friendly tool. Rhymes with Moose asks, does a job title of evangelist make one an expert on identifying cults? Yes, it does.
Yes!
Okay, with the full authority of my job as an evangelist of our Lord and Savior Unity 3D, that this is not a cult.
Yes, it's not a cult!
Definitive, 100% approved, not a cult. Yes.
Thank you. It's really hard for me being right all the time, but it's nice to have it confirmed.
It's hard. It's hard. It's hard to be so right.
Thank you, dude. I completely lost my train of thought, but
Yeah, no, but I think the whole tool building thing is a fact that people are building tools on top of Unity, extending it, and that is actually, I think, getting more possible now with the way that the Unity architecture is moving into packages, which is like a little bit of arcane detail, but it's getting more flexible and more open-ended. A lot of the way that we're developing internally is so basically more parts of the editor or more parts of the Unity technology stack are becoming sort of optional packages that you can use or not use, like the renderer. You know, up until pretty recently, we had like one renderer that was used for mobile, that was used for console, that was used for everything. Now we've got this thing called scriptable render pipelines. So basically you can say, okay, I'm building a mobile game. I want a mobile specific render pipeline, which in this case is called the lightweight render pipeline, or then there's like a high definition render pipeline. You know, so it's becoming more sort of modular and more flexible. And then you can also write your own render pipeline in C# if you're a graphics programmer, which I'm not, but it's pretty cool. Yeah. Only a cult leader would insist so hard that it's not a cult. That's true. That's true.
okay, but that statement comes from Prof Doom. Just want to point out.
It's a rival prophet.
There's no rival because there's no cult.
Sowing dissent among your flock.
It's not a cult.
It's totally not a cult.
So again, friendos, if you've got any questions for Matt, throw them in. Now I'm going to jump back to the list. Now again, I'm reading these verbatim, so I apologize if they come across a little
no worries.
idiotic. But one of the questions that
I love idiots.
that's why you hang out with me. Right. Why did nested prefabs take so long?
Woo! That's a spicy meatball.
Is it a spicy
Well,
one?
it's spicy just because it's true. It did take a really long.
Okay.
We announced them back in 1989 for the Commodore 64, and then, and then they didn't come out till this year. The reason that so for those who don't know, basically a prefab is a game object that is a kind of a prototype of, like, let's say a bullet. You're going to spawn 100 bullets into your world. You don't want 100 different bullets. You want one bullet that kind of contains all of the information about that bullet, what it can do, and so on. And then you're going to make copies of it, right? So that would be a prefab, and then you're going to make copies of the prefab as you spawn them into the world. So nested prefabs means I could have a bullet, and then maybe there's a trail effect attached to it. And if I want to be able to change the trail without having to go and remake the whole thing. So it's a slightly tricky design problem. And basically the thing is that it's so fun. Everything in Unity that's in a scene, that's in a world, right, is made out of prefabs, basically. So it's really fundamental to the workflow. And if we change, basically it's something we want to change very not fun, right? So if we're going to make a change to the way this works, it's going to affect basically everybody. So we want to make sure we do it right? So we had one kind of version of it that we thought was good, and we kind of were like, well, okay, we've got it, we're going to release it soon. And then we kind of looked at it and we're like, maybe we don't got it. So basically there's been a team of super smart people working on it for a long time, testing the implementation that they've released now. I think is very solid. I've been working with it a bit myself, and between it came out, I think in Unity 18.3, which was 6 months ago maybe.
Yeah.
And now there's just been some small updates to it in 19.1 to refine the workflow and stuff. And I think it's pretty good what we've shipped now. I like working with it, and it definitely solves some of those problems, but it's not without some trade-offs and some additional complexity in terms of the way that you work now. You need to make sure that you're, thinking about it in the right way, which takes a little kind of shift in your mindset and in your workflow, right? So it's not the kind of thing we want to change every year. So that's why it took a long time. Just wanted to get it right.
Okay.
Long explanation.
The thing is, like, by the time that Unity had become like a main staple of the industry, I'd already moved heavily into like community communications, all that kind of side. So while I have been exposed to Unity, like I have loaded builds, I have done like capture of early. A lot of the current questions aren't something I get to interact with on the daily. So I am merely the human megaphone of this operation. My job is to facilitate. Okay. One of the other questions. The problem is I can't pronounce this gentleman's name properly. I think it's Asbjorn Thurstland from Brackley's.
Oh, yeah.
Does he smell as good as he looks?
Yes. He is a lovely man.
Confirmed.
Big shout out to Asbjorn. He's a great guy, great content creator, super popular on YouTube, does amazing videos, and has been doing them for years now. Back when he started making Unity videos back when he was a tiny baby. And is now a handsome young man, still making great Unity videos. Yeah, a big shout out to him.
Way cool.
Yeah.
Now, Square Paper's throwing another good one, which was, will there be an editor tooling for large-scale environments like the Megacity demo?
I can answer this, and in fact, I can give you even better. I can give you a link.
And Jax, thank you.
I gave a talk about that. So let's see if I can find it on ye old YouTube. Well, let me answer first, and then I'll find it. So, yes, so for those who don't know, Megacity uses what's called the data-oriented tech stack, or DOTS, which is the new kind of hyper-optimized programming paradigm for Unity for making large streaming environments, running things super fast. And you may have heard some of the parts of it, like the entity component system, or the burst compiler, or the C# job system, right? These all now are unified data-oriented tech stack, or DOTS, as we call it. So Megacity is basically a demo of DOTS, right? It's showing we can run this big environment with all these cars flying around. The really key thing about Megacity is that it's streaming, right? Okay. It's streaming, and it's doing level of detail. Basically, anything that's far away is like just a textured box, and then as you get close, it loads in all these million air conditioners and neon signs and all these hyper detailed assets, right? And so the streaming tech is what enables it to load such a large and such a detailed environment, right? And that's not something that was really possible or well supported, let's say, in Unity up until now. So there's a couple of features of that technology that make it possible. One of them is what are called subscenes. So I'll give you like the really nerdy answer, because this is like something I
we got the time if you got the time.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I'm happy to talk about this. So what subscenes are basically is a way that you can edit in, because basically the kind of existing way of building behavior using mono behaviors in C#, right, is now there's this kind of new world of dots, right? And they're not directly compatible. So what you do is you can author in your kind of existing mono behavior style workflow. Oh, did I freeze?
No, you're good, you're good.
I saw my face freeze on the Twitch stream.
I'm so sorry.
It's just my face. Basically, you can author using the existing workflow and then convert that to an entity representation. So it can run, it'll basically discard a ton of information that it doesn't need, make this hyper optimized matrix representation of it and run it super fast.
Okay.
So like the analogy that I use is it's like you're editing a layered PSD with all this fonts and layers and all this other data in it, and then you export it out to a JPEG, you know, an optimized JPEG that you're going to put on the web, or a PNG that you're going to put in your game, right? So subscenes are like a really critical part of that enable you to use the old workflow, but then convert it into dots data to run it super fast. And that's the way we're going to get to these like big, crazy environments like Megacity, right? That stuff is all new. So Megacity is actually out. You can download it and look at it. The source is available and everything. But it's all like early days preview experimental technology. So it's not ready for production yet. We're not going to see big games being made on it for a while, right? It's still in development, but we're kind of showing you the future.
I mean, that's one of the other things that I don't think today is the day to bang this drum, but the things that people make Unity do that no one thought it could, I think is something that bears in mind. So you say, yes, those things you can play with, but it's not ready. I mean, I've played Escape from Tarkov. Like, people are doing mad stuff with Unity, especially Unity 3D, that I would not have expected. So...
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the thing about Unity that I think maybe some people don't fully understand is that it's a pretty open and customizable platform. So I know there are there are like popular games out there where they're really just using Unity as a rendering, or they're just using some piece of it, and then basically everything else is their own custom code, right? Because for whatever reasons, that's the way they want to do it. And that's possible, right? So, you know, if you have a big team of programmers and you want to write your own object management system, your own networking system, all your, you know, whatever proprietary tech that you really need to have a certain way to make your game a certain way, you can do that. It's obviously, you may have to kind of, I'm not going to say reinvent the wheel, but you may have to, you know, recreate a lot of functionality that otherwise would have been provided out of the box if you want it to work in a different way, but you can, right? So I think that is something that maybe people aren't always aware of, that is possible.
And it's something that I do want to highlight because, I mean, with some engines, we come across individuals who make them do crazy things. I mean, I'll use my example because it's real easy to point at Undertale. I think it gets used a lot in terms of like the level and depth that was, by my understanding, that was an RPG Maker project, or at very least Game Maker. And that's been made to do things it was never designed to do. But one of the things I used to do with the Mugen engine was jank a whole bunch of the internal systems, like really hacky stuff, to make it do some really incredible things. You know, random characters that technically don't exist in the game but can be referenced, like carryovers. There was one which I loved the bonus levels in Street Fighter 2 where you beat up a car or do the like punching barrels.
Classic.
And so there was one where you have to fight a train. You have to wail on a train till it explodes. And so janking the systems that I had to make it do the thing. Unity is like that times a million. And I'm not saying from a janky, hacky perspective. But
no, totally.
There's this misconception that it's just the assets that you buy and it's just the tools that you gain. I mean, I've seen people do some crazy stuff. I don't know if it ever got released onto the asset store, but the Kronos one, that broke my brain. Which was...
It's cool. I think that did come out. I think he won an award. So yeah, that allows you to like freeze time and rewind time.
Yeah. But you can do it within like localized areas with physics effects.
Yeah.
Right?
That's the guy. That's actually the guy who did Bolt. I'm pretty sure. I'm gonna verify that. Hold on. I'm pretty sure it's the guy from Montreal who did that.
Fucking hell. Oh, and while you're doing that, again, Jack Sculch, thank you for the bits. It's what funds this operation. Jaralan, Spooky Rose, and I don't think I said hi to Fuzzkey, but I really should have. What? Oh, and welcome! We've got a feckin' cool guest, so if you've got any Unity questions, do not hesitate, do not delay, my friends. So yeah, was it him?
Yeah, it is him. It's Ludic is the name of
so
his
cool.
company. And yeah, Kronos and Bolt are his two things. Yeah, he's like a wizard.
Yeah.
Yeah. Totally.
But I just, and again, I'm not gonna get into the weeds on it, but like, there was this misconception that Unity could only do X. And then
Yeah.
Escape from Tarkov kind of went, we're going to take your conception of what you think, and we're going to make a multiplayer online FPS with permanence. Go.
Yeah. Totally. I mean, it's an incredible project, and I think like I think that's the nature of, you get a group of really creative and talented people together, and they can take, I'm not going to say any technology and make something incredible, right? But it's really, technology. I mean, it's a funny thing for me to say as someone who works for an engine technology company, right? But technology is important, but fundamentally, it's what people bring to it. It's the human ingenuity, human emotion that actually makes something that you remember.
It's a tool set for creating art. And
Yeah.
while there are business elements, there are additional elements, technical elements. Essentially, it's a form of expression. And I can get real into the arty weeds, but I want to jump to Ironip's question because that's why we're here, yo. So Ironip's going with oddball question. Do you remember the past YouTube demos for that Australian company's I can never pronounce that term. It's like non-standard
Euclidean?
Euclidean, thank you. Rendering platform. The one that claims the capacity to render without polygons, massive environment scalable, leaf rock. Did that ever get off the ground?
I'm not sure if this is... I'm not sure if we're thinking...
Oh.
There are some people who have done some stuff with voxel-based rendering.
Okay.
Which is non-triangle based. Maybe this is what this is about. I haven't seen anything shipped on it yet, but who knows? But I think I can't speak with great detail on it. I know it's something that a lot of folks and considered. I find that it tends to, it's like you can either have square voxels like Minecraft, right? And obviously that was a huge thing that people love. Mm-hmm. And then there's kind of like round voxels, and I find that has like a very characteristic look, and I think we haven't seen the Minecraft of that stuff. Like somebody should make like a claymation game in that style. Actually, I think there was one now that I
sounds
say that.
Awesome.
But like that's to me what that always looks like, kind of mushy clay, and like it's always very like editable and flexible, and like you can have a lot of variation in detail and stuff. So that's somebody should take that and do that. And I think there was somebody who did a Play-Doh game using that kind of tech, but now I can't remember what it was. But yeah,
it does not ring a bell for me.
Sideways answer.
But feckin' hope so.
Hold on, I'm gonna try to look and see if I can find it. No, this just shows me like I'm like doing play. It's just a bunch of. No, that's gonna be hard to Google.
Oh yeah, and Fuzzy, one of the crew, was asking if you know Punch Bears.
The name is familiar, but I don't think.
It's the guy who did. I was first aware of him when he did.
Yeah, Punches Bears. Yeah, Hunter. Yeah, Yeah, he works at Unity actually, which I was like shocked to discuss. Yeah, he actually worked
for you guys.
Yeah, in spot like it was really. I don't know. I think it's public information that he works at Unity. I probably shouldn't get into his personal business.
Oh,
I was surprised when I discovered that he worked at Unity, because I was a big fan of his crazy physics-based animation stuff on Twitter.
So funny.
Wobbly characters and raccoons and bears and stuff. And then I was like, wait, you work here? Like, but he does. And I don't know how much of his life is public, so I won't say more than that.
Yeah.
Great guy though.
All I can say is that I became aware of him when he was making like the little Unity game demos. One of them was like, you're a bear with chainsaws for hands on a bungee cord in an arena. So you're just bouncing around on bungees, just killing people with chainsaw hands. And then he did those incredible music mapping dance things, where it was like bears dancing to music in real time. And it was fucking cool.
What's not to like, right?
Right?
No, he's brilliant, that guy. And that physics animation tech is really, really cool. I mean, that is what Gang Beasts is like the same style, which is also made with Unity, I think. And then there was another one that I think was Unity as well, but I'm not sure, called Human Fall Flat, that uses all the same wonky physical animation stuff. I love that stuff. I never get tired of it. It's really it's fun. My kids love it too. It's fun to play with and feels good. And
I'm entirely there with you. And it's interesting, and especially with Gang Beast, that it's wobbly and it's not wonky in terms of its implementation, but everything's a little bit jellified.
You could definitely say it's wonky. Yeah, I mean,
But
not in the best possible way.
It still feels intuitive. And that's one of the things that I think shines through there, rather than just the traditional, like, nonsense physics.
No. Yeah, totally. I mean, you can really play it and throw people and stuff. And I've definitely done crazy stuff in that game where you, like, grab onto something and get thrown up in the air, and it's super fun.
Oh, so going back to the rendering question, because Alice was pointing out, cool as that sounds, didn't Spore do that? Now, by my understanding, Spore was more of their art style and their rendering style. Like, it didn't generate it. You put it together with pieces, or am I going completely...
You know, I actually don't know what...
Oh, you cut out just a second there, dude.
Oh, sorry.
No, it's fine.
Can you hear me?
I can indeed. You were saying...
okay.
So on the subject of Spore...
Yeah, I'm not sure if they were doing mesh generation for the creature. I mean, the Spore creature editor is incredible, right? Yeah. That was so much fun. My favorite part of the game. Yeah, well, I also loved, however, great and less great parts, but the first level, the like amoeba part, I thought was just like perfect and amazing, and I still think about that all the time. It's so good.
It was a very, very ambitious game, and I'm glad it got made.
Exactly. Yeah, and I think it kind of sparked a lot of ideas and stuff that people that ran off with, and a lot of those weird, like, now there's a bunch of games that are this like weird physics building, you know, kind of like fantastic contraption type stuff that I feel like is all kind of in that legacy, and super fun, interesting.
It's one of the things on, like, if Spore was made today, it would have been a title on Steam, early access, it would have done gangbusters, and would have probably been in development for like 10 years and been something phenomenal. But they tried to launch it at a time where you had to put a boxed product on a shelf, and...
It's so true, actually. No, that's actually a really great... That's one of those games. Yeah, Alnus says that they wanted to do the clay style, but couldn't. Yeah, that makes sense to me. I think back then, doing clay would have been super hard with the rendering tech that they had. Like that, but I love that point, because I think like that there's a really interesting moment with where games are now, with games being deployed online and all stuff like early access and Patreon and all these other ways of making games and selling games and funding games, that I think like something like Spore, wouldn't that have just been amazing if they could have just kind of like rolled it out and then kept adding to it, messing with it, and probably could have gotten to something really, you know, more interesting than what they ended up shipping with. That's a really interesting point.
Yeah, and
I think I mean, honestly, we're in a good... I think it's a good moment for video games, you know? Like, there's super powerful available tech, there's cheap and free distribution, right? You can just start your little... If you have a good idea and you have enough time and kind of, you know, talent and hard work to make a game, you can get it on Steam, you can get it on Itch, you know, like I love Itch, and you can do it, you know.
You're
which, like,
beholden to a room full of old crusty white guys with tons of
you don't have to go in with your pitch and be like, okay, see, it's about these weird aliens, and put the legs on, they're like, what? Get out of here, like, you know. So
the one that always, sorry, Will's gonna go on a little tangent. The one that always cracks me up was that that late 90s, early 2000s philosophy of space games don't sell.
Yeah.
Like, that used to be the thing that everyone was saying industry-wide. Don't make a space game, they don't sell, they don't sell.
Yeah.
Turns out they were very wrong.
Yeah, exactly. Like, it's like if you make a good space game,
but
People
you
are
had to
gonna buy
get
it.
past the pitching process. You had to get
Yeah.
past this, And going back to Chronos as well, like that level of tech was made by a team of very, very smart people in a room for a custom engine, and the engine would most likely have been built around that USP.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's
absolutely.
a thing that you can now just get on the Unity's. You can get it on the store, right?
Yeah, it's there. You can just get it. No, I know. That's crazy, right?
Yeah.
And I mean, honestly, that's like the moment that we're in where like you could, you know, if you have an idea, like, yeah, you could make a whole game out of it, right? Like just that in and of itself is like it's a really powerful moment, I think, for if you're kind of creative and hardworking, like there is a tremendous amount of possibility.
Yeah. And these are things that I think are worth taking the time to celebrate. You know what I mean?
Yeah, here, totally. I totally agree, and it's definitely easy to get kind of bogged down in the moment of like, oh.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, no, we are living in an incredible moment for this stuff, and it's never ever been like this before. I want to answer Iron Imp's question.
Go for it, dude.
They ask, do you think Unity or other company tools, modules for the engine similar to middleware such as Wise for assisting the creation of optimized code for integrating audio assets and altering various digital signal processes dynamically? So,
also, spoiler, Iron's very, very audio technically able. I don't know where I was going with that phrase.
Audio, I mean, coming from music, audio and DSP and all that stuff is near and dear to my heart. So you came to the right place. In short, there are, Unity ourselves have, well, I'm not going to try to find the link, but Google Unity DSP graph. There is a node-based real-time audio graph that is in development. It's in use in megacities. So there's like a super alpha version of it that you can actually download in the megacity project, which you can download the full source for. I think it's very early stage, but that is being developed, right? So if you're an audio person, you might be familiar with, you know, node-based DSP tools like Max MSP or Reactor. Obviously, those are more real-time synthesis focused and music focused, but the kind of flexible graph-based real-time DSP thing is currently in development for Unity, and there is like an alpha available. So yeah, if you're into that, take a look.
There was me.
And honestly, just to add on to that, the existing, currently released since Unity 5 audio engine that's there is actually pretty powerful. If you come from a digital audio workstation environment, like there's an audio mixer, you can do insert effects and compression and reverb and many of the tools that you'll be familiar with from that world, and you can control them in real time and do stuff with them. And I know people who have written real-time synths and stuff in using, if you want to look in the API, on audio filter read is kind of your like way to natively plug into the Unity audio API directly and just generate whatever waveforms you want. It's not the thing about doing real-time audio stuff like that this is like a little rabbit hole. I could go down for 2 hours. But the thing that's problematic about doing that stuff is that when you're doing that stuff in a music tool or an audio dedicated tool, you can use the full CPU for audio, right? In a game engine, you're trying to render, run scripts, everything. So you end up with a much smaller CPU budget for audio, right? So you're like, oh, I'm gonna do all this crazy real-time audio stuff. And then they're like, oh, the frame rate is tanking on the rendering. And everybody's like, oh, stop that audio right now. And make sure that the image is rendering correctly. You know, this is like the eternal struggle of the audio person, is that like the minute that the budget is needed for something else, they're like, oh, you just shut up. And you're just the audio guy, so don't worry about it, you know?
Me and Imp have had some really good conversations about how you could do audio-led teams, and
sign me up, dude. I mean, I'm an audio first person. I love good audio, and I love interesting audio and music and real-time generative music. All that stuff is near and dear to my heart. And I mean, you can do. I know folks like a guy, Simon Whitmer, who works at Unity as a personal project, has built real-time synths in Unity. So it definitely can be done. And actually, what's a good game to check out if you're into audio? Fract OSC, which is an indie game that came out a couple years ago.
Oh crap! I love that game.
So that
let me grab
they
that link
actually,
for
they actually integrated Pure Data, which is an open source synthesis engine. They actually built a wrapper for it and got it running inside Unity in the build of their game. That's how they did that. Because it's like this 3D game with synthesizers you can manipulate and stuff. So yeah, no, that was crazy. And actually, way years ago, before I worked at Unity, I did an interview with Richard Flanagan, the game designer for it, which is on my YouTube channel. If you search for it, you can find it. I can find it for you. But yeah, so there is a ton of like super cool stuff that's possible. But it's kind of like, it's not just going to be easy to use out of the box. It's like, take some.
Well, it's not like Wise is affecting, I'll just download it and my audio is now done. Oh,
yeah,
I got a copy
that's
of
a
Wise
powerful tool as well.
Now I just download it makes me audio work. No,
Yeah,
said no
totally.
one about Wise.
Yeah, exactly. It's exactly. I mean, it's powerful tools are take time to use, right? Wise is great. Is a great tool as well.
Thank you for dropping the link in there.
No problem.
Jax was saying, so I'm going to be managing a production of a UI-heavy 2D game. Something I think any engine can handle. What I care about is finding talent. Do you recommend the Unity engine? Do you recommend Unity as the engine I should center my team around? I mean, that feels like a bit of a biased question, but
yes, I always recommend Unity. I mean, I do. I recommend Unity because it's my job. That is actually true. But the thing that is, well, let me try to answer this in a non-biased way. Whatever engine tech you use, you want to choose something that has a large community of users, right? If you choose the XYZ engine that nobody's ever, much harder to find collaborators, developers, people who know how to use it already. We mentioned the asset store, like you want to build a UI heavy 2D game. Well, you can go and find a whole bunch of UI tools already that you don't have to go and make by hand, so you can focus on your game design, for example.
You can go from naught to actual playable prototypes so quickly. And I mean, then you can swap out asset store assets as you get budget for more like 2D artists.
Totally. And that's actually a good approach, right? Start with something simple, prototype with like available stuff. And then if you're like, oh, this is actually a good game, I want to actually take this and try to commercialize it or release it more widely, then you can go and hire an artist and make all beautiful everything, Totally.
And the reason why I would also recommend centering around Unity is that, and this is, I have friends that work at Epic, at Unreal, on the Unreal Engine. The reason why I recommend Unity is because more people have more Epic does a few things to a very, very polished level very, very well. Now, you can make a cracking 2D game in Unreal, but you need to know what you're doing.
Yeah.
Unity is something that a lot of people have a lot more experience with making it do all sorts, and especially in 2D. Because a lot of people, when that big explosion in kind of like classic-inspired titles happened, Unity was right there as it was moving side by side. And so there's more understanding, there's more articulation, there's more being done in that space. So I would say absolutely go around Unity because you can start from very little to nothing. You can get to a playable prototype, and as you're bringing people on, as you're scaling up, then you can like swap out assets, bring people in, have them change stuff as they want to, rather than being reliant on finding the talent to begin. Because you can fill the gaps of teammates you can't hire. Because I've seen projects stall because it's like, crap, we want to do a 3D game based on, and this is purely. All right, we want to make Flamp for Flamp 3, but we want it to be entirely water physics based.
Yeah.
But we don't have anyone who can do water rendering and like aquatic physics. So
Yeah.
our main USP is currently behind a hiring wall. So we can't start our USP until we've hired someone. But
Yeah.
what if the prototype turns out to be hot garbage? Oh dear lord.
Right.
We've now hired someone and we're paying them. Oh no. Oh no.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, no, I think that's true. And obviously I work for Unity, right? So I'm biased in favor of Unity, but
Yeah.
obviously Unreal is a great product. It's a great engine. People are making incredible games with it, right? And I think that like most important, honestly, like anybody who in a, taking off my kind of like working for Unity hat, it's like you should use what you feel comfortable with. If you know a lot of people who are already developing, your friends use, and you're ready to go on that, like that probably makes sense, right? Like I think like, one of the big strengths of Unity is that there's a huge community, right? And so if you're trying to find people to collaborate with, I think, that's going to be something that's very, very possible in the Unity, world. Which is a big strength, right? It's easy to find tutorials, it's easy to find assets, it's easy to find people who know it.
Yeah.
And that's, I think, one of the things that's like makes it really powerful.
Way cool, way cool. Right, so I still have I think I have a couple more pre-cooked questions, but again,
Great.
ladies, gentlemen, individual of all persuasions, if you got them, throw them. Stop me if I asked you this one.
Mm-hmm.
But one of the pre-cooked questions, and again, I am more the mouthpiece of these questions.
Sure.
Was any insights into why the new input system was scrapped, and when will there be a newer input system?
Yeah, that's a good question. There is a publicly available release of the new input system, which really needs a better name than the new input system.
Have you tried the new input system?
The new old
Yeah,
system. Yeah.
Redux Final.
That's coming in a couple of years. What I know, I've actually been working on this a little bit, so I know something, which is that there's a version of the input system that came out. And actually, speaking of Asbjorn Thursland, Brackies on his YouTube channel, bless his beautiful face, he did a video on setting it up that was kind of like when it was in an early preview state.
Yeah.
And actually, his video about setting it up kind of showed that it was confusing for people. Like,
okay.
Or that I don't know if it was confusing, but it was like took a lot of steps. And it was a little bit more complicated than maybe we wanted it to. And so that was actually from kind of seeing that early video, having the early version available, right? And then that video that he did and seeing his community's response to it and stuff. I know that the devs kind of looked at that and were like, okay, we could probably make this easier for people. And so they've been working on another basically higher layer of abstraction. I don't know if this is what it'll be called eventually, but called player input, which is basically just much more pre-configured, much easier to use. Probably, may not be perfect for every kind of unique and idiosyncratic use case, but if you just kind of want basic input already set up, that'll be there for you. So I know that that's something that they're working on. I don't think it's out just yet, but I think it's like very soon. It'll be coming very soon. So yeah, that is...
Very cool.
Yeah.
So Inem's going to follow up a question, which I have a little.
Yeah, that's an interesting question. So, Ironim's question is: have you seen many cases for Unity where people have particularly rendering for video?
That's the point where it does the little cutout. Feckin'. Sorry.
Oh, sorry.
So
yeah. Here,
your audio has been fine, but for some weird reason it chopped that out.
It might be my internet. Or installation artwork, etc. Heard about a team using it for an installation piece who had used A prior, but the art gallery's seen. Yeah, definitely. So a friend of mine has worked on a guy who doesn't work for Unity, but who does He's an indie game developer using Unity, and then also does kind of contracting. And he's actually worked on a bunch of art installation type projects in Unity where they're running, they're setting up computers in the gallery and running projections that are running in real time off Unity, and doing some really cool stuff with that. So that is definitely an area where there's interesting work happening. I'm trying to remember if it's public, that the art installation that I'm thinking about. I'm not going to say what it is because I don't remember.
But it is a thing that people are doing.
But it's definitely a thing that people are doing, and I think it's a super interesting area. I mean, there's a lot of people who've done cool stuff with Kinect, sensors, driving. So it's like reactive, and then there's some people that you can find images of it who've done tables where like they're projecting down onto a table of sand.
Yeah.
And then you can like move the sand around and it changes the projection based on, I assume it's like sampling the depth. But yeah, there's some really interesting stuff out there. And that's something actually I would love to like mess with more on like a hobby personal level.
Yeah.
With my infinite free time that I don't have.
Of course. A very good friend of mine who's a content creator specializing in doing Twitch streams around custom controllers. And he's actually built his alert system in Unity.
Yeah.
That's a thing he's done. Just has it straight into OBS, and it's like, no big deal.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think that's something probably see more and more, especially as more people learn how to use Unity. They're like, oh, this little animation thing that I need, or this controllable widget, like I could just actually make this really quickly in Unity. Yeah, I think that's actually something we're probably going to see more and more of.
And I'm entirely down for it because it's I'm trying so hard not to just leap into like the history of game engines, because it's a topic I have some very strong opinions about. But like, back in the day, getting access to this level of stuff was just something that individuals didn't get. I mean, the NetEurosi machine blew everyone away because you could develop PlayStation stuff as an indie.
I remember that.
Right?
I remember that. Yeah, that was exciting.
And feckin' hell, when it was found out the Dreamcast could just run like Windows compiled stuff, people lost their heck. I want to just point out real quick that while the Kinect may not have done very well in the gaming space commercially, in terms of like use with third parties, the Kinect is still massive. There's a huge demand for Kinect sensors.
It's funny. I was actually just looking at the prices of Kinects on Amazon because I wanted to buy one because there's some. I've been wanting to experiment with like low budget motion capture.
Yeah.
And there's some great tools that will allow you to just take in the video feed and the depth feed from a Kinect and then do kind of puppeteering and animation stuff with it. So literally just like a week or two ago, I was, how much does a Kinect cost actually? I was going to buy one. It's a great tool.
So it's always curious when things like that happen. And with wildly available open source stuff, wildly available free stuff, you can have these like great breakaway inventions. You can have these art installation type stuff. I mean,
totally.
Let's be feckin' honest. Would we have the same kind of game jam scene, the game jam community, if we didn't have these freely available tools?
Definitely not. I mean, I think that's a really great point, and kind of a cultural movement, right, that we've had in the past, 10 years that definitely wouldn't have been possible without, people are not going to buy an engine to do a game jam, right? Buy any software to do that. And so, I think that's been an amazing, and that has just led to an amazing kind of flowering of creativity and interesting stuff. So
and we've seen whole companies founded on these projects that sprung up over something really interesting that happened at like a jam. I mean, I'm looking at you, Bossa. I'm looking at you.
Yeah, totally. Great company.
Yeah, I'm a big fan. I'm a big fan.
Yeah.
Ladies, gentlemen, individuals of all persuasions, if you have questions for Matt, do not hesitate, because I don't know when you're going to get your time next.
I'm definitely happy to take more technical.
Oh,
to answer those. Iron M says recommendation. Give. I'm not. Oh, but that sounds fun. Yeah, Eurorack is.
Oh, yeah.
Physical hardware analog synthesizer, little boxes that you can wire together. And this, I guess, is a software emulation. Yeah, I definitely would like to.
Sorry, the reason I'm smiling and nodding to that one is I only know it from Iron telling me about it.
Nice.
So
he's out here evangelizing.
Yeah.
Iraq. No, I have avoided the whole module.
Oh, we are having some...
The people who I know who get into it, it's like a terrible, expensive addiction, right? It's like buying magic cards or something. You get like 2 or 3 little boxes, and you just want to wire more and more of them together.
Just put more together. It's fine.
It's fine. Then your house is filled with synthesizer components.
Music, the audioing.
Yeah. But.
Okie dokie. Sorry, just hunting around for questions on varying things.
Yeah, no worries.
SquarePeg is asking, any news on the official scripting solution in Unity?
You know, so visual script talked about Playmaker is another source. So the I can't remember what we've announced about this. I know.
I'm sorry, dude.
No, it's fine. This is like it's my job things, and I don't. There is a visual scripting solution that's coming.
Okay.
Not in the distant future. I think that's about. Let me just see. Let me Google it real quick and see what we've actually officially announced. It's coming. It exists. It's real. It's not made up.
So while you're having a look at the thing, Catberry just got into Magic recently. I'm so sorry, and now has 2 binders of cards. Welcome to the party.
Yay.
2 binders sounds restrained.
Okay, no, here, I have an actual answer.
Oh.
Preview release of visual scripting in 2019.2, which is the next release, which is coming soon. And then full release, it looks like they're saying in 2019.3. So I think we're on like a 3 to 6 month kind of timeline. Here, I'll put the link to
and
this,
that's not soon TM, that's soon.
No, that's real soon, yeah. I mean, that's why I wasn't sure what I could say, is because I know it is actually soon. It's not just like sometime in the next 10 years. Yeah, it's coming. It's coming. And I've used like early, the cool, I don't know. Let me not say things I'm not supposed to say, but
okay.
It's cool. I've used it and it's cool and it's real and it's cool. It generates real code, real C# code. That's the part that I'm trying to say, and I don't want to say it in the wrong way, but it generates real C# code that you can like open up and edit, and so it's not like this one-way thing of like, oh, well, we've got these bunch of noodle graphs and now we can't do anything. It's like you can actually, it compiles down to C#, so you want to give it to a programmer, they can, it's cool.
Noodle graph's my stage name.
That's a good nname.
So, Moose had a follow-up question to the previous one, which is, any sense of how efficient tail recursion is in Unity C#?
I don't have a sense of that. What are you trying to do with that? I could probably, in a more context, I could probably give you an answer.
Okay.
Abstract sense.
While we're waiting for Moose to follow up on that one, Dash is just talking about how if you wired your entire box up with little audio boxes, and then you had motion sensors so that as cats are playing, it would make different noises. I'm sure that would never get annoying.
That's a winner. That's an instant winner. Cats and synthesizers is an instant winner.
Because you can take all that energy that cats produce at 4 in the morning and make noise from it. That
Exactly.
seems like a great idea.
What could go wrong?
And so while Moose is cooking that question, DXman wants to put forward, any hope we'll be able to use the new package manager for custom dependency management anytime soon?
So that's a good question. I know that you can load your own package. You can write from disk
you were
locally.
saying you can write your own package from disk?
Yeah, you can load your own packages. I'm not sure if there's ever going to be a way to deploy them more broadly than that, but you can definitely like create local packages and then load them yourself.
Okay.
Yeah.
And Cadbury's just talking about the the cat-powered synthesizer house. Says it's a win-win recipe. There's no downside.
Hard agree. Hard agree.
What do you mean noise complaint? What do you mean? What do you mean thrown
Not
out of my own
possible.
home?
Not possible.
Nah.
Could not go wrong.
So what else we got going?
Yeah, DX-Men. I'm not familiar with MP, but if you, I would start by looking to see if anybody's done a C# implementation
Okay.
of that, and then if you want, if you wanted to build it and
Yep.
use it that way, you certainly. But I'm not familiar with that particular methodology.
Okie dokie, ladies. So, once again, friendos, you've got any questions, you got any things? We've worked through our backlog quite nicely.
Nice.
Which I'm very proud of.
Well
Tal's been doing real good in, so the sites that you've been linking to, we've been, I want to shout out to Tarlicus for, he's been contabulating the recommendations you've made for links, varying tools, etc. Tal's actually doing the hard
Thank
work
you for
here.
that.
I'm just drinking coffee and occasionally squeezing this in my hand.
Somebody's on the job here.
Right. Tal's like, don't press me! Ha ha! I have drawn attention to you doing a thing.
So modest. Thank you for that.
His one fault.
Wonderful to a fault, perhaps.
But yeah, I'm so happy with where we are in terms of games, and one of the things that I've been really focusing on, especially since GDC, especially since we've had a lot of these horror stories coming out of the AAA space, is that games as a profession is viable. Making games to make a living works, and you can do it. Like, AAA's on fire at the moment. They're going through their they're either going to have like a transmogrification or they're going to die in a blaze of flames. Like, the battleship method of game development isn't viable in my personal opinion.
Yeah.
You know, what was it? The Yamato got killed by fighters. Like, it's history.
No,
still
it's a
tells.
really, I mean, it's a really, really interesting. It's a really interesting discussion. I think that we're always. What's crazy is that there's been this kind of arms race of like making bigger, more detailed, longer, richer experiences, games, on the AAA side, right? It's like something that's the size of Texas with 800 individually voiced NPCs by actors, and just this huge explosion of content and detail, right?
Yeah.
And it's almost like a kind of a brute force approach to making games, right? It's just like more is more. Let's stick more things in there. And I get why people love that, right? Like, you can just explore these huge worlds, and every door you open, there's like a person with a little story that's like been lovingly written for you, right? So I totally get that. The thing that what you get, what that scale of production produces is a tremendous pressure to limit risk, right?
Yes.
You can't take your $800 million budget and be like, I'm gonna make a weird game about psychic ants, right? Like, it's like that. It's like, nope.
Well,
we've
thanks.
got to
Now
have
I want that
guns
game.
and you can make it.
I don't
That's a
blame
free
the
one.
user.
Just give me 50%.
Yeah, done and done. I don't blame the user for one of this. Oh, art stuff! Come on in. I've got a friendo from uni. From uni? I never went to university. I drank at university, but that's a different story. I've got a friendo from Unity. We're talking video games. You got technical questions, throw them in. What? Oh, and welcome! Is what I should be properly saying. So yeah. Now, I want to go back to Moose's question. So while Art Staff and friends kind of settle in and say hi, howdy, do you want to... So I'll read Moose's question. But
absolutely.
Articulating the last one, they said, the goal basically is to use tail recursion to narrow down the smallest space within a space that I want the generator to run through, so that I can pass that space, say a room, back up the recursion tree and factor it into what is being defined at the step of the tree, and keep the theme defined by what's come before. Then, by defining rooms in this manner, I can define a floor based on those rooms and then define a building based on the floors.
Okay. Yeah, I
It's part
broadly.
attack.
Yeah. I broadly. So we're definitely generating roguelike, which is near and dear to my heart. So the first, if you're trying to do smallest space within a space, you would probably want this one way to approach that space partitioning, right? And basically you're going to you're going to subdivide until you get to something that is this, a predefined smallest possible space, and you can then, like, what I would do is, it's a tree with leaves, right? Each room is a leaf, and then you subdivide each leaf. Now, within that, you can then pass that tree of information back up and reason about it and make decisions, right? That's how I would approach it. I have, in the asset that I posted, Strata, my asset store thing, there is a simple binary space partitioning implementation in C#. If your question is about performance, it's fine.
Okay.
That kind of stuff, unless you're doing it on a really huge, I'm doing it, I think, on 100 by 100 grid, which is reasonably, I don't know, depends what scale you're talking about, right? But it's you can do it hundreds of times a second with no problem.
Quite cool. So very quickly, I just want to say, again, hi to Artsoff. I hope you're having a splendid day. My guest is being feckin' cool, and we are dancing between some real back in my day you had game engines that were on the web, like the Talk engine, and it were uphill both ways. Matt's also been answering some super in-depth technical questions that people have for working with Unity. So I'm having a lovely day, and I hope you're doing well. Thank you for bringing your crew in, and to Norzo and the rest. It's lovely to see you all.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I tell you what, Iron Imp, we can come back to that, and we can chat a little on that. If people do have any direct questions, feckin' go for it. Because what Iron Imp is saying is the interesting thing of the creatives who've been in the AAA space now breaking away to do small team things, because by reducing the cost of production, by being able to create these kinds of experiences with smaller teams, means they can be more creative. We've talked a little bit about the show, but currently what I'm seeing is everyone basically, it used to be, you try and work in the games industry to get a job at a AAA for the prestige of being able to be creative in that space, but now we're seeing you survive AAA long enough to learn what you need to do it yourself.
Yeah.
All the indies,
I think that's true.
All the indies that I interact with at, say, GDC and places like that, they're all ex-AAA, making the projects they wanna. It's not a bunch of students sitting around being like, I made a game where it's a goldfish and a goldfish has feelings. It's so I've done 20 years, I've shipped more titles than I can count, and now I'm making a game about Kafka's Metamorphosis poem, but it's a first-person platformer, and you're a cockroach, but it's all surrealist madness with crazy-ass physics stuff. So how are you? Actually, that is a real game, and we'll talk about that in the future.
Nice. That sounds great. I love Kafka. Nothing like existential dread and despair.
But in 3D!
In 3D, in first person, totally immersed with misery. No, I think that's true, and I think that, that thread of, I've definitely observed that.
Yeah.
People, kind of paying their dues in AAA and then darting off to freedom to make the games that they want to make. I think it's also important to acknowledge there's tons of people who don't come from that space and are self-taught, just making really weird creative stuff. It's the point I want to make is you don't need to do that. No, you don't need anybody's permission to make games.
Yes.
You don't need to know what you're doing. You don't need to go and work for somebody else. You can just teach yourself and go make the games that you want to make. And if you want to get a job in the industry, that's great, and
Yeah.
there is great stuff to learn and do, but like you don't have to go to school. Like, you know, my mom would like hate me for saying this, but like you don't have to go to school, you don't have to go work at AAA, you don't have to do all you have to do is like learn, you know, the minimal skills that you need and just start making games, because that's how it is now.
You don't need to ask permission, you don't need to ask forgiveness, you can just make your games. And I love that. Oh yeah, and Cadbury was saying live long enough to become the villain. Alness was like wheeling through Double Fine. And as you were saying about like big projects, it is worth saying, like Torment, Tides of Nymeria, Wastelands 2, there have been some massive creative passion projects that have been made with Unity. That's how it goes. Like, it's not too
I actually
shabby.
really want to play Torment. It looks amazing. Crazy world building, super creative world that they've developed there. I'm like super looking forward to that.
Yeah, it's fucking cool, and it is something worth celebrating, because there was a time when like the only way you could hope to create your project was to submit.
Stop that incessant clicking.
Yo! Sorry, bear with me a second, because we're gonna have a little bit of interruptions. Some anonymous Hubbard has just given out 3 subs to the crowd, and has given one just like 3 subs to whoever. And so your brother Vulcanor and Pink Fluffy Watilla have all been gifted a sub by some anonymous Mother Hubbard. So, to whomever from House Carl decided to give those away, we thank you greatly. Your huts will be the stuff
Stop
of
that incessant clicking.
And yes, that is the...
Not a cult.
It's not a cult! It's not a cult. We do have 4 houses. But, dude, I love being on Twitch because I get to spend my days talking about all of this and celebrating games and trying to keep banging this drum. Now, this is gonna start off a little negative, but I do want to I want to hit this drum one more time if you'll allow me. Right now, we're seeing a little bit of the biz dev side of games industry is bleeding over into games media. We're talking
Stop
about
that incessant clicking.
we're talking about how this is affecting the people who make games, and there has been a real there have been a lot of negative stories throughout this year. Anytime I get to spend days like this banging this drum and saying that literally any of you watching the show now, you can make a game. Now, you're probably not going to be able to make an MMO, first-person, high-definition VR title. Don't do that. But if you have an experience you want to convey, or maybe there's just a kind of game you want to start making, there's a kind of experience you've got in your mind that you got that feeling, and you want to create that, you can do that today.
Yeah.
That is something that I can't stop celebrating.
No, I totally agree, and I think it's important, the whole discussion crunch and kind of, you know, the labor practices in the games business, I think is a really important conversation. It's something I'm definitely happy to say that working at Unity is not a thing. Like, we don't crunch. I mean, there are big shows and big deadlines and important stuff that comes up, but we really, you know, and we definitely work hard, you know, but that kind of brutal crunch culture of people working nights and weekends for months on end is something that we really don't have. And that, you know, like I got 2 kids, you know, I wouldn't be there if that was the case, you know, so that's definitely something that I'm like, one reason I'm really happy to work at Unity as opposed to some of these places you hear stories about, right? Because it's crazy. I mean, people's relationships, their families getting really negatively impacted, right?
Sorry,
and it's something
I wasn't laughing at people's relationships being destroyed. It's just
people's marriages being destroyed.
No, it was
but it's
Cadbury doing join us. One of us.
I think it's like, especially obviously like it's something to care, but also I think it's important for like people who are lovers of the art form and players of games, you know, to like, it's easy to look at games, like, oh, some $1 million faceless corporation created that, right? But actually it's like a team of a few hundred really passionate, really hardworking individuals who have kids and health problems and hobbies and pets and things that they want to do besides, you know, work, you know, 40 hours a day. And I think it's important for us to kind of stand in solidarity with them and say, hey, like that's not something that we support. We want people to live.
I think it's
lives.
also very important to highlight that all of those people working on these projects, all of them together, like if you look at them from above, you look at them like a dichotomy of individuals. Less than 1% of those individuals is Randy Pitchford. So really, really you don't need to worry. I'm not gonna get tired of picking on that guy. Reflective's adding, yes, now with more and more games focusing on games and less of the razzle-dazzle, the flash, there's more room for the little guy to make a game that could make 10 or 100 people feel something. Those are great games.
Agree.
The thing is,
totally agree.
If you are making a game for yourself, if it doesn't need to turn a profit to pay your rent, just make what you want.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, just like we were...
Oh, sorry, you're saying?
Just like we were talking about at the beginning of the stream, right? Like this house flipping game.
Yeah.
I'm like, what? That's a thing? Like, what? But obviously there's thousands of people who are like, oh yeah, how I want to relax at the end of the day is like laying down lawns and sand. You know, it's like, it's amazing. And that's, we just wouldn't, I mean, I grew up in the era where, you know, there was like 20 games that were out at any given time, and you would go to the store and like look at the back of the box and be like, I don't know, does this?
Oh, I want to get this one. I want to get this.
Yeah,
one.
I don't know. Like, go squint at the tiny images, you know, and like obviously, like it's amazing that now we have just such a wide range of crazy stuff to choose from, and people can say, no, what I really want to make is this game about flipping houses. I'm super passionate about this. I'm going to do this, and that they can find a community of people to enjoy that and support it, you know. That's like a beautiful thing.
Naming no names, one of the individuals I worked for, I can literally see the look on his face. If I came up to him with a business proposal and went, I need 2 devs for 3 years to make a game where you renovate houses, and he'd be like, all right, but what's the story? You renovate houses, you get a house, you flip it for a profit, you buy another house. Oh yeah, but what are your USPs? What's the online component? Like
laying sod.
Yeah.
Laying sod is the USP.
You make a house.
Rolling out mats of lawn.
You buy a bad house and you make it a good house, and then play ad infinitum. And I can see the contortions of his face, trying to get his head around it. It's been like, no, leave my office. I'm not giving you.
You're fired. Get out of here.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, totally. I mean, and that's the thing. Right?
Yeah.
This is what I do, and you know, find the people who believe in it. I mean, I think what rhymes with Moose is saying that, yeah, like if you only need to pay 3 people's rent instead of 300 people's rent, you can take some risks, right? Like you don't need to be like, we have to be sure that this is going to make, I mean, and you hear these crazy stories, like not to pick on any one company, but like, they're like, oh, we only made $800 million in profit, which is less than the $1 billion that we expected. You're all fired, you know, and you're just
everyone's going.
Really?
No severance.
Like,
We didn't make
I'm like,
so.
You know, I don't know. I probably should not get too much into that, but
that's
like,
fine.
Yeah.
So I leaned over a little bit here. And also, XD Johnny XP said someone's been watching Friendly. Of course, they're like.
Yes, exactly. That's what I was watching.
The people.
Shout out to her. Great content.
Yeah, they are both excellent. They are essentially my streaming Jedi masters. They taught me how to do like the business side of Twitch stuff. But I didn't realize this was happening today, Matt, because it didn't happen yesterday. So I'm coming to you live from GameWorks in Seattle. We're actually up in the bar, so like people can see us around GameWorks. I didn't realize they were doing that today, so woo!
That game works.
I didn't think they were going to do it, because, yeah.
Amazing.
Well, wait till I stop playing Demeanor later, but that's another story. Reflective says, yeah, there's a janitor simulator. What was it? Viscera Cleanup Crew. That did gangbusters.
Totally.
Oh.
Yeah, and I think it's also like, it also shows people are looking for different things, right? People want to have different experiences. They're not just like, no, give me the man shooting again. I want the man shooting, right? Like, I mean, we all love the man shooting, right? But like, people are willing to be like, I want to also be besides being the man shooting, I want to be the janitor, and I want to be the person doing this and that and the other thing, and that's cool.
Yeah. these games finding that audience, these games being able to be created and go to market without having to physically print boxes is awesome.
Yeah, exactly. You can take a risk and you can reach a small group of people, and that could be a success. I mean, that's magic.
As Catberry is saying, sometimes you want to be a cat shooting. I mean, cat lateral damage, fecking. Oh, there was another one where you're a cat just wrecking someone's day. And I'm just like, these are games that exist.
Yeah.
So
I think cat lateral damage was a jam game, and he was like,
wait a second, people want to pay money for
I've
this.
got something here.
Yep. Yeah, Viscera cleanup detail. Thank you, Clank. Thank you. Matt, how much longer have we got your time for, good sir?
I think I'll start to wrap up unless people have any burning desires to have their questions answered. Thank you all for being with me. It's super fun, and I always love to talk about this stuff.
Oh no, and dude,
Thanks for having me on.
Dude, it's been wonderful. I love talking about this, and being able to talk about these points from different industry types, being able to help facilitate people making their games it's something that means a lot to me. I talk a good game about people being able to create their own projects, but being able to bring you on and then go from there. Javier Fed, you just got here. Do you use Unity at work? Because if you've got questions for Matt, now is the time, friend.
Yeah, fire away. And somebody says, Reflective Gamer says, I want to space cook meals while the ship is in combat.
Tomatoes flying around. That would be amazing.
I actually really want to make a cooking game where the main thing is that you have to get ingredients, you have to cook things, and then like weird aliens like eat it, and then they don't like it or they do like it, and you have to figure out why they like it. And this one doesn't like spicy food. I think that would be amazing. That's on my list of like, all the games I'm gonna make someday.
I mean, I don't know how it did commercially, but I love the concept of Battle Chef Brigade. It's a cooking puzzle action fighter with some story narrative, and maybe does it have dating elements? I don't know. It's all in together. Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't actually played that, but it looked amazing. Art looked amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely look forward to playing that at some point. Yeah, Overcooked is amazing, Javier. Although, do not play Overcooked with people who are easily stressed. I definitely know a few relationships who have been put on the rocks by screaming at each other playing Overcooked. It gets very serious.
A couple of very good friends of mine who are otherwise chill and zen people. When it comes to Overcooked, if you are not doing things efficiently,
just get me some hamburger buns.
All I need is lettuce. What are you doing? Get the shit out of my kitchen. I'm like, this is the kind of person who's like calm as Hindu cows the rest of the time.
It's really, really good. Iron Imp, thank you. It's been great chatting with you as well. Question about the Unity node system. Can you create your own nodes, like writing a Max MSP external or a VST plugin? I'm going to go out on a limb and say yes, if only because you can actually do that now with, what is it called? You can write native plugins for the current Unity system. I think you have to write them as a DLL, and you can't write them in C#.
Okay.
But you can actually do that now, and I would very strongly guess, this is a guess, not an official answer, but that there will be some support for that in the DSP graph as well. Yeah. I mean, I think also the idea, right, is that you can build, like the point of something like Max, right, is that you can build your own. Oh wait, are you asking about building VSTs to use in other things?
I keep saying yes and agreeing with you. I have no idea. My job is to facilitate this conversation. This is
inside
so outside
Unity,
of my skill
yes.
set.
Will this go? Can you like compile a VST plugin inside of? If that's, I mean, and again, those are
did you say
educated guesses.
Was it compiling outside was a no, but inside was a yes?
That is my educated guess. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Alna says, Overcooked is the new Mario Party. It is if you're drinking, let me tell you. Yeah.
Made with Unity. Overcooked is made with Unity. Shout out to them.
See, Javier Fed and a bunch of you just coming in. You'll need to be here more. Like, and also, and I say this with love. So Javier Fed, other peeps, we did a pre-organization of like questions answered over the Discord in our little like making game space. So do keep an eye on that one because I mean, Matt, you have been an excellent guest, and should the interest arise, it would be lovely to have you back again some point in the future.
Sure. Yeah, I'd love to. And for those of you folks who are just coming on Twitter.
We're doing battle we're doing battle a little bit with audio issues, but you were saying for those folks that are coming late.
Yeah, for those who came in late, if you have questions that we do,
of course it keeps
I'm
creeping.
at Matt Mirrorfish.
Yes. So the little thing down there, that is Matt's Twitter handle. So you can direct ask him questions via the internet. Because it seems like Javier Fed's got one question, but it looks like from my QA sense says it's one of those questions that's going to need a little bit of back and forth to solve.
Yeah, well, I can take a shot at that. So, Javier, the question about the audio, play one shot. Basically, if you're trying to play too many voices at the same time, there's a priority variable on the audio source, and it's going to deprioritize. If you have too many things playing at the same time, it'll deprioritize some based on that priority level and play the ones that are higher priority. But generally speaking, like if you start to fire off tons and tons of audio sources at the same time, Unity will start to drop some of them out so that it doesn't overload the DSP system. Yeah.
Once again, I'm nodding as if I know that this is. You could literally be telling me.
The DSP system, yes.
Yeah,
yes.
the DSP. That's where the hamburgers are made, of course.
Exactly.
I should have known.
That's very important. Awesome. Well, so I'm going to start to wrap up.
Matt, thank you so much.
Thanks for everything. It's been a genuine pleasure. I love talking about this stuff. And yeah, feel free to hit me up on Twitter. And enjoy the rest of your evening, afternoon, or whatever time it may be with Will.
And thank you kindly. So I've dropped your link in. Also, friendos, I want to see a Zerg wave of emotes as a thank you both to Matt and to Catberry Gaming for facilitating this meeting of the beards. Right? They don't know. They don't know.
It's true. Actually, this is like major epic ginger beard apocalypse here. We
right?
Really got
the Titians are aligning. So again,
major. All right, thanks so much, y'all. It's been a.
Thank you so much for your time, dude. And yeah,
and I'll talk to you soon.
To be continued. Alrighty, so. Oh, and let's go back over to studio. So everybody, that was fecking brilliant. That was fecking brilliant. I should really put my fecking Twitch handle down there, shouldn't I? So bear with me a second. I'm just going to copy that across and do a little thing. So yeah, friendos, thank you again to Matt for being a fecking legend. This won't... I do mean what I was saying. Like, one of the things that I take great pride in is anytime I can help facilitate you lot making games, talking about games, demystifying all the shenanigans around, or helping you with the problems. I have not been able to do as much as I would like. I've not been able to help people sell their games as much as I'd like. I've not been able to find people funding as much as I'd like. But if I can do these things, I feel like I'm doing a good job. So yeah, if you do have questions, again, chuck them back on Twitter and we'll see what was going on. Vulcanor, there's the Twitter handle. Oh, Vulcanor says Twitch handle. We know who you are. The bar can just look up and only dream of who this mystery man is. Okie dokie. So, friends, I'm going to take a quick little break because I've been hoofing coffees all morning and I desperately need the bathroom. But after that, we are going to be switching up gears. We're going to be playing Demeanor in celebration of a couple of birthdays that are going down today, alright? We have a lot of friendos coming in. So let me just start moving all things around, get my stuff going. What was I doing? Yeah, what a fecking great day already. One of the things that I'd also one of the things that I'd also ask you lot, especially like Javier, especially Iron, people who are currently eyeballs deep in game dev, like, are there things I can provide for you? Are there people in the industry that you'd like to talk to? We've had a few requests to talk to Laura K. Dale, who is, I mean, a friend seems like I'm being overly familiar, but I've hung out with them a whole bunch when I was more on the indie game scene, so these are things we can do. Chiat said, I got a bunch of people to help me edit my dissertation in making games. Got marks back today, and I got a first! Yes! That's what we're talking about! Chiat, I'm so happy for you. And all of you that helped Chiat with that, sincerely, thank you. I know it's a bit of a... joke's the wrong word. I know that the back of the hoodie says we all live together, but we fecking do. We're all in this together. It's not me, it's us. And if we can all help each other